Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome once again on our YouTube channel on behalf of AOZ. I once again welcome you to a yet new series and new episode of our alumni success story. And today we again have a very interesting, eminent, and a multi-dimensional personality joining us onto the floor. Those who are new, let me share something about AOZ to you all. So, Association of Zoologists, it is a platform which we had started somewhere in 2019. It's basically a non profitable organization under the Company Act 2013. And this was framed, structured, visioned by small enthusiastic zoologist group looking forward to work for the subject zoology. And this is a team, the board of directors. We are all spread throughout Gujarat, and we want to work more for the subject beyond Gujarat and beyond India. So, do support us for the valuable work to be done for our subject. Our vision is to represent and promote platform for zoologists and to disseminate the knowledge of contemporary development in the field of zoology, now also known as animal sciences. This is our council. The council is represented through different zones, which are divided in terms of the geographical aspect of our state. So we have a south zone, and we have central zone, and we have north zone. So these all people, they represent different zone as zonal presidents, and we are actually having also the bigger umbrella, which is represented by president, general secretary, treasurer, joint secretary, all coming from different universities and all coming from different zones. What is our mission? We want to strengthen the bonds with allied subjects. We want to enhance the capacity of young zoologists, and above all, the underlying and the topmost idea is to advocate zoology. And how do we do this? We try to implement these goals, missions, and aim through different objectives and different particular no work that we want to carry forward. So we invite and we encourage joint research collaborations. Now we want to organize, and we are already doing the work with respect to seminars, symposia, conferences, workshops at regional, state, and national levels. We initiate training programs in different zoological fields, and we want to promote young minds who are taking up zoology as their core main subject, through small grants, fellowship, travel assistant, training programs, a fruitful hands-on workshop. Recently, we had a hands-on workshop on animal tissue culture at Ahmedabad with Gene Explore private limited laboratories. And for your benefit, this is the right time to share. So I would like to also announce that in mid-June somewhere, we are planning to have a faculty development program on aspects related to how to take care of your mind and your mental health. So just wait and watch, stay with us. Presently we are 60 members. Our head office lies in Life Science Department, Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. You can definitely reach us through the email ID displayed onto your screen, and you may also remain in touch with us through Facebook. We are available on Instagram and presently on YouTube. Please subscribe our channel, impart the same to others. Let everybody know that they have some stuff onto the YouTube of AOZ, Association of Zoologists. We are already planned to have another episode of alumni series in July. So hope you are going to enjoy being with us and not taking your time, but introducing you to our today's guest. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Nehal.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
So, friends, Dr. Professor Urmi Chatterji, all the way connected to us through Calcutta. Uh, now Calcutta, no, Kolkata, and
Kolkata. Yeah, Kolkata. Yes.
Kolkata. Yeah. and previously Calcutta. So she's coming from the Department of Zoology, University of Calcutta. Let me tell you, she has an immense. I have a huge a list of her no achievements, but some of the things everybody should know, that would really be inspirational to know what ma'am is all about. And we are so thankful that she has come up onto our YouTube channel, giving us so much of time today. So Urmi ma'am is a researcher, an educator, teacher, learner altogether, and she has so many no particular subjects onto her plate to offer. So apart from conventional zoology, she is into cell biology, particularly cell signaling, developmental biology, cancer biology, neurobiology, endocrinology. She has been working a lot in all these subjects, including biochemistry aspects, also molecular biology as well. And her PhD lies into a very important aspect, that is autocrine paracrine functions of uterine agglutinins. She not only did her PhD, but she continued her research as a postdoctoral researcher and postdoctoral fellow in University of California, and she also has been teaching as a visiting faculty no into New York, USA, at Department of Biotechnology, Cornell University. So not only Indian students but also students studying abroad have taken benefits of her experience and knowledge. So very happy to have you onto our platform, ma'am, and we are very glad that our young zoology minds are going to gain so much of your experience today through this particular channel. So friends, she has huge publication, more than 50 papers with her. Her citation goes to 1116. Her HI index is 21, I-10 index is 31, and that doesn't stop things here. She has more than 13 PhDs already with her. She has so many projects that she had been undertaking, more than 16 projects from different particular funding agencies like DBT, DST, also funding agencies from USA. So it's great to know today we are really blessed, and we are really thankful that she's going to talk to us about her such a vast experience of doing projects, research, teaching, learning. She has been heading the department, so she also has been into a lot of administrative responsibilities at her university. Moreover, she is also the member of more than 15 different organizations, again in India and abroad. So presenting you today, luckily I am going to talk to her and you have to listen to her. So that's the charm of our today's program. So I'm so happy, ma'am, that we could connect, and hope that the way we are enjoying being with you, you are going to also enjoy being a part of AOZ no family. So to begin the questions, I always inquire that how did you came across zoology as your no chosen subject for your graduation?
First of all, thank you for that lovely introduction. I mean, you've said more than I actually deserve, but thanks a lot. So, when I was young, I had my father and my grandfather, and both had a doctor in front of their names. So I was like, even I need a doctor in front of my name. But one was a medical personnel, one was a PhD. And that age, I didn't understand. Slowly, when I got to know the difference, I was more inclined towards being a medical person because my grandfather was a doctor. But then there was a time when I realized that, doctors were not doing everything. I mean, they could not actually sometimes cater to each and every need of a person. And there was something more that needed to be done. And that was around class 8 when I decided that maybe I should try and get into research. And it was too early to dream, I guess. I mean, people would say that's very precocious, but it was somewhere in my mind. I mean, that we have to do something like something different. I mean, not just, an operate or give a medicine. And I guess I've been lucky. So when I came up to graduation, there was a choice of, biosciences. So either physiology, zoology, botany was never really my forte. It was there because we had to have an entire bioscience, but it was between physiology and zoology. And that was when a lot of people told me, like, if you ever want to pursue a career in biosciences, maybe zoology would be better because zoology teaches you a little more than what even physiology would do because of all that, the handling of animals and, the extra information that came in from across a comparative physiology. So they said, that will actually add on to some, a little more, because if you want to go for research and not medical, that is something which would help you. And that was it. And I selected zoology, and I've never looked back, and I'm so happy I did.
Yeah. So we when students come in the first semester, I many a times tell them that you are going to do the research which is actually going to get utilized by MBBS doctors, because many come with a regret that I couldn't get an admission in MBBS. So then I tell them that then you can invent something, do a research, and let them use your research, and you can always have a hand above them. So they become very happy to then understand that it's so valuable to do the research with so many people, and the doctors will be utilizing. So the
In
same
fact,
thing, I think.
if I can just add a word here, I've had a
Yeah.
lot of medical MD students who've done their dissertation with me from different medical colleges in Calcutta. And you won't believe it, there was this very brilliant person who was doing his MD. And MD in Calcutta Medical College, I mean, it really needs the creme de la creme who get into it. And he got so interested after doing research. He said, like, I don't think I'm going to pursue a medical career, just sit and make a lot of money. I think I'm going to get into research. And that day, I really felt great. I mean, I told him I'm not losing a doctor, but I think I'm going to gain, the society is going to gain someone even beyond that. So, yep. So you
Yeah.
don't have to really regret not being a doctor.
Yeah, and still it is the situation that people are undergrading and underestimating doing BSc MSc. That is again a problem even today in India. They choose BSc MSc only when they don't get certain other branches which they feel are status symbol in our country. So I think that really needs to wipe off quickly, when they come across the modern sciences. So, on that note, ma'am, you chose zoology instead of choosing physiology. So, there are so many things in zoology that people study. So, what was actually making you excited, about continuing in animal science further? Because you then later on did MSc and then also did PhD and went on and on. So, there has to be something which you came across in BSc which actually helped you go through MSc.
That's true. I mean, see, the BSc syllabus that we used to have during our times was extremely intensive. I mean, at least with respect to the practical part of it, which is totally missing these days. It used to be very intensive, and that is something which really excited, because you are actually looking at things, you are actually doing experiments, you're seeing something, and like people say, seeing is believing. So you are looking at different, how organisms are trying to adapt to different conditions, and you look at the structures which are helping them do it. So those are things which were very exciting. They were definitely very exciting. And that is what made me get into the fact that these are good model systems which could be developed for further research. And so like, that's where the whole thing started building. And later on, of course, I selected a subject like endocrinology as a specialization, because I was very interested in signaling. And I that is again which I felt was very unique amongst animals, starting from even an amoeba to a human being. I mean, the interconnections, how they understand each other. It's amazing how organisms kind of realize everything. They understand each other. They take care of themselves. I mean, the mimicry. I mean, how animals are saving themselves just by disguising. I mean, these were like really unique areas of zoology which was so fascinating. So,
Yeah.
and especially, like as I said, I was very interested in signaling, and uh, that kind of kept me going. And I went on and on with signaling. So whatever I did, there was always a part of signaling that was involved.
Okay. So what kind of experiments you were exposed to at that time?
So we had a lot of dissections. So we learned the system very well. We actually, we used to cut up everything, like from cockroaches to leeches to rabbits to fish to lizard, calatus. So, it was a wide variety. So we actually learned handling animals, which gave me a lot of mileage later on, because when I was in US doing my postdoc, and the lab that I was in, we had 24 members in that lab, and I was the only one who was an expert in animal handling. So my boss, every time there was an experiment, and he was like, "Oh, go to Urmi because she knows how to handle an animal." Even when I went to Cornell, I mean, my boss would tell me, Urmi, just teach them how. So that gave me a lot of leverage. So animal handling, even though zoologists are sometimes, put on the scales with biochemists and molecular biologists and biotechnologists, but one place where zoologists like reigns really high is animal handling. And that was a huge advantage. And
Yeah.
apart from that, we did a lot of tissue biology. We did a lot of tissue sectioning. I mean, again, people would say, I mean, what's great about tissue sectioning? But even today, a cancer patient is detected via tissue sectioning. So we cannot undermine that technology. And then we had other biochemical assays, and so we did a lot of practicals at that point, and each of them were unique and helpful.
Yeah, unfortunately, both these things, tissue, no management and the dissections, they have really come down in India. At least what I see in my university and institute, there's a pathetic condition. Students just cannot
Yes.
identify tissues, and India has banned dissection. So that is what
Mm.
every time we face this problem, that how are the young minds going to learn about the systems then? You cannot ban the dissection, but that is what has happened. So do you have any say on this, why and how we can improvise the condition related to dissections?
So, see, I mean, you can't really substitute a dissection. I mean, a lot of people have been trying to use, simulations and things like that, but it's never the same, like, when you're holding a mice in your hand. I mean, that's something different. So people have now shifted to different models, which are still not under the purview of animal ethics. So, I mean, fish and cockroaches and those kind of dissections are still there. So uh, but again, like people can actually explore more model systems, because if they're really interested in learning about something, I mean, there are so many other model systems which are coming up these days, like the C. elegans and zebrafish and planaria. Drosophila was always there. So uh, now that people have shifted, or they are banned dissections, they should actually introduce these model systems which are not under the purview of animal ethics, and yet they are extremely important for learning biology. I mean, they are great models for development, they are great models for disease. So I think those kind of models should be given more importance uh, nowadays.
Okay, so
I mean, they
something
are.
should be done in respect to bringing the change for at least handling the animals and looking into the system models.
Yes. because
That
unless, I mean, any kind of research, most of the research would require some kind of animal models, because
yes, yes,
eventually if you want to take your research for human welfare, I mean, it has to go through an animal model. I mean, so
yes, yes.
that we can't ignore that.
So
But again,
apart
we need
from
to follow the rules and the ethics, and I mean, we have to keep those in mind so that the animals are not in pain. That is, of course, something which we do have to keep in mind too.
yeah, but as we are talking about bringing change with respect to these dissections and the need of making students learn the animal models or the systems, what would you say with respect to NEP 2020? Because everybody is going through the transition of changing the syllabus presently, looking to the need of the new policy. So how do you know, what do you feel that what we should include or what should be there in zoology now for the present generation so that they can explore more further?
So, see, NEP is going to bring about a big change. It is actually going to allow a larger time frame for students to get exposed to a certain subject. So, initially, we had 3 years of graduation. They are now allowing a 4 year graduation, which means, they have more time if they want. I mean, if they don't quit in the first or second or the third year, they have more time to learn or get into the depth of something, which I think is a great idea. And definitely, I would feel that, you know, I mean, even though we say we are zoologists, today science has become very interdisciplinary. So
Yeah,
even though we are studying zoology and we do need our base, I mean, we cannot ignore the basics of zoology, because that's what made us stand here today. But we really need to expand. We need to do more interdisciplinary studies. We need to do more interdisciplinary integrations, so that, when a person completes those 4 years, I mean, and goes into research or continues higher education, the person is not just restricted to a certain syllabus. I mean, they should be able to do any kind of research or adapt to other kind of subjects as well. So in addition to changes or differences in the syllabus, including more modernization, modern topics, uh, a lot of hands-on needs to be, I think, included, because
included.
slowly, as dissection has gone, a little slow, we do need more hands-on studies. So more experiments, more uh, you know demonstrations. If there might be lack of funds, so at least demonstrations, so that you don't just study something on a paper, but you actually see it happening. And that definitely makes a lot of difference. I've seen a lot of students who were, I mean, in my master's curriculum, till the first year they were a little skeptical about how they would like to carry on their education. But once they got into second year, they started doing dissertations. They started handling equipment, instruments, animals, or actually performing experiments, getting a result. They became more interested, and a lot of these people decided that we want to go in for research. So
Okay.
I think a lot of hands-on and a lot of practicals, demonstrations, uh, like maybe some kind of workshops need to be included in the new NEPs.
Okay. And ma'am, as you have done research in India and abroad, so what is your experience related to what kind of research is missing in India presently, which we can like actually you understand more because you have been to US and you have been working there. What do you think we can adapt from US in the new education system, and that can also enhance the research capacity of the student?
Comparing US and India, I would say I mean, to me, there were just two differences. One, funds. That made a huge difference, because, when I went to US, that was just prior to 9/11, and US was booming at that point. So, when you have so much funds, uh, you automatically get to do a lot of work, because if you don't have to think of money, you can always plan experiments. I mean, it doesn't matter if it works, it doesn't work, you can still do a lot of things. So funds definitely makes a lot of difference. The second thing that I would say, research, you think thought wise, I would say there is really not much of a difference, because Indian brains, I think, are by far the best. And anywhere they go, they outshine. I mean, that is something that I totally believe in. One thing which I have noticed in US, maybe because they are made to be more independent from childhood, because after 10 or 12 they are, they have to vent for themselves. They are actually very intense. Sometimes I do feel a lack of that intensity in India, because we are pampered for a very long time. So we also, I mean, I realize even I do that. I do pamper my students sometimes more than I should, but it's kind of a habit. But over there, when people are not used to this kind of pampering, and as a result of which, whatever they do, they know they have to fend for themselves. They have to earn their food every day. So they are actually very intense, and that is something that I really learned from them. I mean, they are very hardworking, very intense, very while they are working, they are absolutely extremely good at their job. So that is another thing that I would learn from them. But other than that, I think sitting in India, people are doing great research, great ideas. Yes, maybe limited by funds, but otherwise, I think we are quite at par with any country abroad.
Yeah, that's so nice to know that no, today you are saying so many things which is like really increasing the positivity of being in India and being a zoologist. So thank you for that. And ma'am, what do you feel, what according to you research means? You are into so much of in-depth research with so much of projects. So how do you define research? What is actually research?
So to me, research was something which is not just, like I said, I got into research because I wanted to do something. And it was not about publishing papers, not just about getting a degree. It was, I mean, even now, I still feel I need to do something. I work on cancer, and I remember someone telling me that, Urmi, sitting in a lab and doing cancer research, I mean, you'll have a few papers. That's it. And after hearing that, I would actually go to cancer hospitals. I sat there for hours talking to patients, talking to their relatives, and I realized it brought something else in me. It's, when you understand the immense pain that they go through, that's what makes you feel that you really want to do something. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to achieve, but definitely, I know I want to try to do something and reach out to people. And that is what I think research is all about. I mean, it should not just be that I need a degree, because getting a PhD degree will get me a job or will increase my salary. uh, that is, I mean, that's a secondary mandate. But I think, see, today even I got a job. I mean, but I never, when I started research, I had no idea that I would, take up a job in University of Calcutta, and uh, you know be teaching. So I had no idea, but I was like, no, I need to do research. So research is something which, whoever wants to take up research, I mean, you don't have, I mean, you have to let other things go. You really have to think that I need to do something. Whether you can
Yeah,
actually do something or not is a different story, but if you want to do something, I'm sure you'll achieve at least a
yeah,
little bit of it. So that to
yeah.
me is research. It has to be a passion.
Yeah, it has to be a passion, definitely. Otherwise, you can't continue for a long time, for sure.
Yes. And research,
Yeah,
it has so many failures. I mean, you'll probably have, I mean, if I look back into my thesis, there were 70% failures and only 30% success, which went for my PhD degree. But that's the learning process. So you need a lot of tenacity, a lot of patience, and a lot of passion for research.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, Matt, you also had been teaching abroad, and you are also teaching in India past so many years. So, how has your experience of teaching students abroad has been? Like any differences or anything you have imbibed from there?
obviously, my teaching in India is more extensive than abroad. I've just taken a few classes. Again, like I said, Indian brains are great, but there is something else that I actually enjoyed in US is they don't have qualms about asking questions. They're very interactive. They whether they understand or not, they are not. I think our Indian students are very scared or skeptical about asking questions, because we feel like, is my question silly? What is my neighbor going to think about it? So they feel scared. And I've seen a lot of students who don't ask me a question in class, but when I'm in the corridor, they'll come and ask
They
me in the corridor, and it will be a very relevant question, and I tell them, why didn't you ask me in class? It's so relevant, I could have discussed it. But this is one thing which in US, no qualms. They will ask you questions. They'll get it out of you. So they know how to get the best out of you. So that difference was there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what would you advise for the faculties and teachers who are a part of zoology fraternity? Any tips for them to improvise the subject or the teaching?
uh See, the way I teach, there are two ways of teaching. One is the way students like it is, a regular class, maybe, a PowerPoint presentation or a chalk and talk, and, a reference in a book that you tell them that, okay, you just study this book, or you give them notes and you tell them, okay, you go through it. So that's one way of teaching. The other way of teaching is, slightly innovative, because especially when we come to higher education, you have a basic knowledge which we
Hmm.
learn in BSc. That's there. But somewhere when you come, you rise above. You need to know why you are studying, because that is where I feel students get disinterested. Like, what is the use of knowing how an amoeba feeds, or how does a mosquito? The mosquito will bite me anyways. Why do I need to know what the parasite is doing in the insect? But if I think if the topics are made more application based, I feel it might be more interesting to students. Now, this cannot be practiced in the initial stages, because initial stages are where you we need to give them the base. So there are certain mundane topics and subjects, and things that we have to, like, a lot of memorizing, a lot of mugging up, a lot of figures that we have to do. But slowly, if we can tell them that, this is where this can be applied, it might be a
Hmm.
little more interest. Because,
Yeah,
like,
very.
evolution, for example, like, I'll just give you a small thing which I try to do, is like, evolution can be pretty boring. But I've been teaching them, when I teach them evolution, I talk about the Dasha avatars, and I tell them how the Dasha avatars have actually contributed, and they're so sequentially fitting in with evolution. So, those are things which people might relate to, and they might, get interested in. So
Yeah,
that
very
I
true.
feel could be, something to make it interesting.
Yeah. So, on that same note, any advice for the students who are trying to make their career in zoology, how they should approach the subject, or what kind of work they should do during their BSc, MSc, so that they can go forward and make a good career?
Okay. So one thing again which I would say about zoology is the amount of diversity that zoology has. I doubt if any other subject really has so much of diversity.
Hmm.
So people can always choose. If someone wants to do ecology, it's a totally different side. Some people might be interested in taxonomy. Some people might be interested in disease biology. Some one might be interested in, how pollination, how animals help in pollination. Some people might be interested in how you can increase livestock or increase, breeding in animals. So, there's a huge diversity in zoology, which I feel is very attractive for students because they can choose their own niche. Someone might, I mean, these are all very different subjects, and everyone has a different liking. So people can choose their niche and can decide, like, okay, this is what I want to do. Some people love to do a lot of wildlife biology, and I know people who are working with snow leopards and the red panda. So there is so much. I mean, some people like to go out into the wild. Some people prefer to do a lab job. So you can choose. So students have a huge arena to choose from. So what I would think, find out your core area, find out the area which you are interested in, and then, you know, go, probe more into it. So if someone is, if someone has a liking for wildlife, maybe during the second or third year, if they're really interested, they can always try to collaborate with the Wildlife Institute of India. Ask them if
Yeah.
you have any, projects or any small programs going on. Go and visit them, do some work with them. It doesn't have to be paid all the time, but you can always, find out something new. Or if someone thinks that I'm more interested in biotechnology and I want to increase the production of fish, they can also go into like the fishery institutes in different areas. They can find out how breeding is done, how. So they need to develop themselves, they need to find out, and students, I believe, do that. They try to go out, out different areas, different institutes. Sometimes they come to us, we tell them. Sometimes they do it on their own, and they go out and they find out how, if they're really interested, if that really interests them, and if it does, then they uh, continue in that line. So I think
Any tips? Yeah. So, any
sorry,
tips
yeah.
for them for gaining the clarity? Because to understand that this is my area of liking or niche, they most of the students they remain confused till a very great time period. Like even in MSc, they are not sure why they have come up to the MSc level and what they want to do further. So, any tips you feel that can help them gain little clarity?
So, yes, I think we've all been confused at one point or the other. I'm sure all of us have gone through that phase. I mean, that confusion is always there. But one thing is you have to decide for yourself, because I mean, no one else, no outsider can make you understand what is good. So sometimes people are inspired by a good teacher. Sometimes they are inspired by a good subject. Sometimes they are inspired by, they have different, maybe they attend different conferences, seminars, and they hear someone speaking and they get inspired. And sometimes they are just inspired by themselves. I mean, they are exposed to a lot of subjects in the first or second, in the third year, and they decide, like, okay, this is my area, this is what gives me more interest. So that is something, I think it's more the students have to decide on their own, like, this is my area and I would like to pursue this. Many a times they are not able to. I know people who have wanted to work on cancer, but they did not get cancer as a subject or cell biology as a subject, and they took up something like biochemistry or even ecology. But later on, they shifted gear and they continued in the field of cancer biology. So there might be these small hitches, but if you're really interested in something, you should pursue it. And I really feel if someone pursues something, it has to be something which they like. I mean, you cannot pursue a topic which you don't like for a very long time.
Yeah,
So
and you won't
definitely
gain
like the topic and
success.
then go ahead.
Yeah, you will not gain long term success if you are not into that subject.
Yes,
It's just a
absolutely.
temporary,
Absolutely.
maybe a hands on job or something, but it won't
Yes.
help you continue long. Yeah. So, ma'am,
No.
because you have gone through so much of postdoc work also, how a student should approach for applications related to postdoctoral work or maybe a research abroad? Any tips on that note?
So once a person completes PhD, actually postdoc is a lot easier. I mean, instead of going for a PhD abroad, going for a postdoc is a lot easier because uh, you can always approach people directly. I mean, that's how we used to do it. I mean, there are two ways. Either, I have a friend and someone comes and tells me, like, ma'am, I mean, does your friend have a opening? And I write to my friend, and if a friend has an opening, I ask the person to apply. But normally what we do is we find out areas of my interest. So you find out people in US or UK or anywhere in the world who are working in your line, and people who have been doing PhD, they obviously have been reading a lot of papers, so they know, who are the people who are working in that field. And then once you're done with your PhD, you get your degree, you just apply to these people. If they have openings, they will take you in their lab. And that is
Yeah.
how it's. I mean, just recently a student of mine went to US for postdoc. So when she applied, the person called me. We also, I mean, kind of spoke to each other for about an hour, and he found out how she was, and according to the recommendation, she was selected, and now she's there. So it might take you a couple of applications depending on how that lab is funded, but it's not that bad. It's easier to get a postdoc.
Okay, and you also have gained so many projects onto your hand by different funding agencies. So this is always a question for so many of the faculties, that how did you crack this particular thing? It's so difficult to actually sometimes get in the same agency funding you more than one project. It's not easy. So what are the key things that you would suggest the faculties and the students working with them, if they want to really bag a project in India or abroad? What should they do actually?
So my first projects, the first two projects in my life that I got were in US, and my boss used to tell me there are two ways of writing a project which will get funded and a project which will not get funded. And he actually taught me how to write a project. And there are two very important things. First, you have to write it in great details. You cannot hide anything. I mean, you cannot say that I'm going to, not talk about this, not talk about that. So you have to be very methodical so that, the person knows that, yes, this person, knows what he or she is talking about. And today, in today's world, you need some amount of preliminary data to show that this project is going to work. So if you're proposing something, you have to, carry out at least a couple of experiments to show that, yes, this is going to work. And then you
Yeah,
go forward from there.
something
So
like a
that
pilot
preliminary
project.
data is very,
Yeah.
very important.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
whenever someone is starting new, because startup projects are easy and most people do get startup projects, but you have to complete that project on time. You have to, put in your UC, your utilization, your reports. Everything has to be on time. Everything has to be methodical. I mean, some people, what happens is once they get the grant, they're like, okay, I'll do the hisab later, but you can't do the hisab later. I mean, those are things which have to be done on time. So, being methodical, producing a paper, a PhD from the grant. Then, when you write a grant again, they'll say, "Oh, okay, the first grant was successful, though, so this person is serious." So they'll fund your project again. So,
Okay.
and I mean, I know people talk of out of the box ideas. I mean, again, this is a very, a catch-22 situation, because if you're thinking out of the box, that means you're moving away from your niche. Then you don't have, all your publication support is gone because you're thinking of something new. And so that is some place where you have to compromise, and you have to keep trying. So sometimes, even if there are failures, you just keep trying, and I'm sure grants will come up.
Yeah, so you have seen such a, like a big journey going through a researcher as in PhD into postdoctoral studies, then teaching and being a head associate professor, doing so many projects. So I'm sure you have gone through lots of lows and highs. So how do you handle that part? There must be so many no hitches and glitches somewhere. It's not a small journey that you have covered till date. So how do you handle if things don't go according to how you must have thought about or you wanted to actually establish? And even as an administrator, I can see in your resume so many labs you have established, cancer biology lab in India and abroad as well. So there must also be some issues related to administration. Working with government agencies has never been so easy. So how do you handle and manage this part?
Well, if you ask me, definitely I have seen many more lows than I've seen highs. So, uh, in fact, lows all the time and a few highs. So it's like, the graph is like low, 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 and then just a little peak. Actually, today when I look back at it, it's those lows which have brought me to this height. I am thankful for all the lows that I have undergone. It has given me so much strength, so much confidence, and so much belief in myself that today nothing really can bother me anymore. I know, I mean, I think I can face any situation because, like when you go through these lows, when things don't work out, when everything is going wrong, and you get over that situation, it takes you up like nowhere before. So those lows are extremely important, and I keep telling my students, don't ever think negatively about lows, because those are the ones which are actually the positives which will take you ahead. And yes, there will be a lot of obstacles, of course. And the better you do, there'll be more obstacles. So that's the fun of it. So whenever I'm faced with a lot of obstacles, I realize, oh, I must be doing something really good. Otherwise, why am I facing so many obstacles? And then I get that boost. Oh, I should go ahead with it. Because no one will bother with a commoner. No one will be bothered with someone who's, just doing something mundane. No one is going to bother. They will only bother with someone. They'll only try to put an obstacle for someone who's trying to do something good. So whenever you face obstacles, just know that you're doing something great and just go ahead with it. Doesn't matter. Cry. I mean, if necessary, go to the toilet, cry your eyes out, come back, have some good food, a good night's sleep. You'll feel great the next day, and just go ahead from there. And luckily, I would say, I've been going through, because I've had a lot of support from my parents, which is like something which has kept me going throughout my life, and friends. So that is again very important. So you do something like, when you're really feeling down, just do something great, just do something which you really enjoy. You'll get over it and you'll start with a new vigor. Never let obstacles bring you down. I mean, this is something I always keep saying. So the amount of lows that I have gone through, I mean, I guess, I'm really glad I did. I mean, when it was happening, it was not great, but I'm glad it happened because, it really built up this confidence in me.
Yeah,
So
this is
that really
so
helps. And today, it's not only helped me, but today I can even help people a lot more. Because, as an administrator, I have always tried to, help people, because I know I have been in a lot of problems. I've faced obstacles. So whenever people face something, it's not only helping yourself, you can actually go up, extend your hand and help everyone around you. And then people start loving you, and that is what again will give you the next boost. So it's a circle and it comes back.
yeah. So, people, we are slowly approaching towards the end of the episode today. If you have questions, kindly post them into the comment box. You can also post your comments or suggestions. You can greet our today's guest, and you can also become member of AOZ Association. On your screen there is a flash going on presently, wherein you will find once again the email ID. You can just let us know by email ID that you want to become a member, and we will share all the details required for becoming the member. Avail different opportunities and discounts by being a member of AOZ, and remain in touch with us. So on that note, ma'am, one question I still have, which is going on in my mind, is that in your whole journey till date, has zoology played some role in bringing you, no, as in person, or as an administrator, or as a good mother, or somewhere has zoology also played a vital role? If yes, then how and where?
So, see, like I said, as zoology as a subject is a very varied subject. I mean, you learn a lot of aspects. You're not only just learning about animals, you're learning about the environment, you're learning about interactions, you're learning about a lot of things which are, which can be integrated. So, I feel as a zoologist, because of this huge, kind of exposure to different subjects, it kind of has built me into a more evolved person. So when I interact with people, when I'm talking to people, the knowledge of zoology, I can, because I can actually talk about a lot of things with people who are from different fields. So whether it's a person from history or statistics or English, when as a zoologist, because of the the huge type of knowledge that we are given, you can talk about a lot of things, and that you know it kind of makes your arena a lot larger. So a lot of zoologists I know who have opted for civil service exams, they also have told me that whenever because of zoology, we've been because of the huge exposure, we have been able to crack civil service exams too. And somehow I feel like because of all the practicals and everything that zoology as a zoologist we were exposed to, the confidence, the self esteem that we built in ourselves, it helped in facing interviews. I mean, I have been taking interviews of several people, and today I can very proudly say that my zoology students by far do a great job compared to many other subjects. And I mean, I'm not biased at all. I mean, I am very strict with my students, and I even scold them if I need to, but I can very proudly say that my students do a lot better in interviews. I mean, this is something that a lot, even people from cultivation of, from IISC Bangalore, from different IITs, they all even tell me, like, Urmi, the confidence that we see in zoology students is really commendable. So I think zoologists are doing extremely well anywhere. I mean, even outside India. So I think the subject itself gives you this kind of a confidence.
Yeah, that's really wonderful to note. And because you have been handling different modern aspects of the subject, like, you're into animal biotechnology and cell signaling and all those kind of things. So, what would be your suggestion? How these kind of modern topics be included in the conventional zoological syllabus?
So, I mean, now that NEP, like I said, first when BSc was for 3 years, that
Yeah.
was just about enough to give a basic knowledge. But now that it's being extended for another year, like I said, like these kind of application based subjects, technology based subjects, some, some of these subjects where people can actually think of going beyond just the books. I mean, that is when
Hmm.
they will start thinking like, well, how can I apply my zoology? And that is what needs to be introduced in the syllabus, because there are a lot of applied zoology. There is sericulture, there's prawn culture, pisciculture. There is, I mean, like, even handling instruments like flow cytometers. And so there are a lot of uses that people can, they can apply themselves in. So these kind of topics have to be introduced at least in the final semesters of the NEP course, so that people know that yes, with my knowledge of zoology, these are the various fields that I can approach, and these are the various, there are job opportunities, research opportunities. So that is where they will get interested and think of pursuing this field.
Yeah.
So definitely these subjects need to be introduced.
Yeah. So we are coming to an end, ma'am, and we need to close down the episode. We can keep on talking and talking, and everybody would love it,
Okay.
but there has to be some end to this episode. So, the last question for today's episode is that. What is the takeaway for our students from your life's journey? So, what would you advise them to remember no out of your struggle and out of your success, so that they can utilize that and continue their life ahead?
Well, I feel that there is a single mantra for success, and that is sincerity and honesty. There is nothing uh, which can beat being sincere and honest. And if you are sincere and honest to whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter whether you're pursuing zoology or whatever you're doing. If you're sincere and honest, success will definitely uh, catch up with you. So, please like doing what you want to do. Don't just do things because you've been forced to do it. Like what you're doing. I'm sure you can find uh, something which you have an interest in, and just be sincere and honest. I think that is the only thing. Of course, you have to work hard.
Yes.
Work definitely. I mean, unless you work, you're not going to get anything, and nothing comes free in this world. So you have to work hard. That is there. But, just be sincere, be true to yourself. You don't have to be true to anyone else. Just be true to yourself. Be honest to yourself and tell yourself that you are going to make it. You can have uh, lows in your life. You will face obstacles. Just tell yourself that I have it in me and I'm going to go ahead, and you can definitely overcome all your obstacles and shine in life. And my best wishes, and if there is any little thing that I can ever do to help you, to motivate you, or whatever little I can do, I will always be there. So please feel free to contact me if ever you need me. And otherwise, inspire yourself. That's the best you can do. And all the best to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your wonderful journey that you shared. And it's a very nice message to end up our today's episode, honesty and sincerity. So, I am sure our young minds who are listening today's episode are really going to carry that forward. And AOZ is definitely obliged to have you here on our platform. And we'll definitely contact you again for taking your guidance for further programs and workshops. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you so
being
much.
with
Thank you.
us. And we come again in July with yet another expert to share the story. So stay tuned with us, subscribe our channel, comment our channel, and do become members of AOZ and encourage us. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice time. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.